Hey, it's been a minute since we've been back with you guys, but here we are. It's a Sunday night. We're a week and a half and some change away from the NFL draft, so we got that on the docket. We're going to talk a little bit of rookie draft stuff, but it's been a minute. We're back here. We're back here ready to go. I don't know if I can still do this, but we're going to give it a shot here late on a Sunday night with another episode of Woo! Dynasty, right here on rotoballer.com. That is, of course, rotoballer.com. Go check us out there. All the great premium content that we provide to you there at rotoballer.com. Woo Fantasy is the discount there you can use. Promo code, get you that discount at checkout, so go check them out at rotoballer.com. We're in the midst of, sports are, of course, underway. Baseball's, hot and heavy. NBA's wrapping up. NHL's going. We just finished March Madness just a couple weeks ago, so college is kind of fell by the wayside. We're just moving through things. But the biggest part about this time of year, of course, NFL draft, just under 2 weeks away. Time to get there, man. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm just ready for the draft to get here. It's crazy. I know we did it with a bunch of our listeners last year. We did kind of a live stream, just chatting live about draft picks last year. It seems like that was like 3 or 4 months ago. It does not seem like it's been a year already. So crazy.
Yeah. That's something we're kind of going to put in the works again this year. We're going to do, another live stream for the first night, possibly the second night of the draft, and invite some people in, kind of do a little hangout and talk about picks as they come off the board. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Do want to put it out there too. Of course, I've got it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Go to the Draft Network website and fill out a mock draft. And send us your mock drafts, because we're going to talk about that on the next podcast that we do. We're going to go through our first round mock ahead of the NFL draft here in a couple weeks. So if you get a chance to, go to the website, the Draft Network. Easy interface. You can jump in there. You can make trades if you want to. Just let us know what you think. How do you think that first round is going to shake out? Send it to us. We'll probably go through a few of the picks from some of the drafts that are sent to us as well. So definitely do that. thedraftnetwork.com. So check them out. I know Nick, he's went through and done his mock over the weekend.
So the other night, don't copy too much from me there, but no. And I'm sure we'll probably do our picks, our annual picks contest again, and see if anybody can dethrone me from last year. So, but we'll do that on NFL.com.
We'll be putting that out too. So be on the lookout for that. So we'll possibly do a giveaway on that if you do beat one of the co-hosts here. If you win the entire contest, I think we'll do a giveaway for that. Last year we were doing a giveaway for the for premium content for rotoballer.com. Yeah. So
I can't win that, but you can. I think we gave it to the second place person. So.
I believe so. So be on the lookout for that too. We're gonna have that coming up here in the next few days. Trying to get everything ramped back up. It's been a little hectic over the last few weeks since the last podcast. A lot of things been going on, but I know I've been fighting the allergies like crazy. It's been it's been up and down here in Tennessee like it always is, and it's just knocking me on my ass. But anyways,
you got to take Benadryl ahead of time, B.
I've been taking Claritin and stuff like that and switching things in and out, but it's just your body's getting accustomed to it, and it's just like
every year,
every single year, and it feels like it's worse this year than it ever has been too. That's the other thing. I don't know, but anyways, here we are. Before we get into the first round rookie mock and talking about how we think that would shake out currently, for all the dynasty managers out there, I do kind of want to just dip our feet into what we've kind of missed over the last few weeks since the last time we did a podcast. Of course, free agency wrapped up and things of that nature. So kind of want to go through that and just touch on some of the moves that we were more impressed by, and some of the ones that we, were very meh type of moves, and we don't really see any needle movement for these players when it comes to fantasy football. But I really want to start the whole entire discussion off, because we have not had a chance to do it yet. Your QB1 for the Chicago Bears in 2021, the Ginger Ninja himself, Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. Take it away, Bears fan Nick Heffley. How are you feeling about your Bears and Andy Dalton at quarterback?
I haven't seen you this excited in a while to hear.
I'm amped, man. This is good stuff. I love to see that the Bears fans worked up on Twitter thinking, "Oh man, we're going to make this trade for Russell Wilson. Oh man, we're going to move heaven and earth to get Deshaun Watson. We're going to be back in the ball game." Days go by, weeks go by, still the rumors were out there, and then lo and behold, when free agency opens up, boom, 1 year, $13 million deal, Andy Dalton.
Well, I think the Bears legit tried, to get either Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. I mean, I'm actually glad that we didn't do that. We're not in a spot to win a championship right now, even with one of those guys in. So we don't have the roster that even Seattle has. How do we think we're going to win with Russell Wilson in tow? So I'm glad in the end that we didn't do that. So I would much rather have had another year of Mitch Trubisky versus the Ginger Ninja.
Yes, the ultimate Mitch Trubisky apologist.
Compared to one of the two. Okay, so if you had either Andy Dalton or Mitch Trubisky to choose for, if Dak Prescott went somewhere else, if you had to get one of those guys for 1 year, who has a better chance of leading you to the playoffs? B.
I'm putting a blindfold on and probably wishing away the upcoming season because I don't like either one of those options.
The Bears are clearly playing with a 1 year deal for Andy Dalton. We're clearly getting ready to draft a quarterback. So, and I was hoping that was going to be Mac Jones in round one, but he seems to be flying up boards there. So, I guess I got to hope for Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask. So, because I don't know what we're going to do out there.
Or the name that has been flying off the board here lately, Davis Mills from Stanford. I don't know if you've been catching that the last few days, but Mike Greenberg mentions Davis Mills as a guy that's going to get drafted in the first round of drafts, and immediately most of us that are in the industry are thinking, what, where, why? Because any of us that have watched any film and done some of the tape work, things like that, Davis Mills is not a guy that should be on the radar anywhere near the first round.
I'm sure that means that we're going to get him in the first round then. We're going to trade up probably to get him in the first round.
I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest for what y'all have done in the past. But, let's be honest. I think, y'all are going to be on the move and trying to bring in a quarterback in this year's draft. But, of course, you've missed the boat on the top tier of the class. And now you're looking at that
by going out and winning games yet again. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. Always. So, let's look at it from a fantasy perspective too. All jokes aside, because that is a very big joke. Andy Dalton as QB1, and the Bears Twitter account, of course, got torn apart when they put that on the Twitter page that day with QB1.
I don't know why that's such a big surprise, but okay.
Oh man, but
all those Nick Foles truthers out there, yeah, good luck.
That's going to be a great competition in the summer training camp, though. I wish I had a ticket to that training camp to watch that magic unfold.
It's almost too bad we don't have your boy Clipboard Jesus out there competing with the two of them.
Charlie Whitehurst would probably start for the Bears this year.
Probably.
We're being honest about it. So, fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton, QB1. How are you feeling about the weapons?
Not a QB1 in fantasy.
You're not going to be pulling the trigger on
probably
Andy
not a
Dalton
QB2 in fantasy either. I'm not really feeling too good about the weapons. You look back though, and Allen Robinson, with all the crap that he had last year, still finished as a number one wide receiver. And guess what? He's probably still going to finish as a number one wide receiver. So for him, I like it. Andy Dalton might not be great, but he made AJ Green. So So I think he doesn't see much of a downtick. The Bears offense, I don't think is much of a downtick. I just don't think Andy Dalton's a guy that's going to win us a championship. But fantasy wise, I don't think you're going to see too much of a downturn on things there. I think David Montgomery's still going to be good. I think the Bears offense in general, if we can get some protection for the Red Rifle here, is going to be decent. We're not going to be good.
Let's look at it. The last 2 years for Allen Robinson, he's went 151 targets, 154 targets each of the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
First year ever with 100 catches just last year, like you mentioned, does finish as a right there at the tail end of wide receiver ones, finishes as a wide receiver 9 overall in PPR formats last year. And that was on the strength of the catches because he only got in the end zone 6 times on the year. So with Andy Dalton now, Allen Robinson, he's back-to-back 150 targets each of the last 2 years. Does he reach that number again, even with Andy Dalton at quarterback?
I mean, I think he gets close. I think he's easily 135 plus. So I mean, who else is he going to throw the ball to? We're trying to trade off Anthony Miller.
Darnell Mooney.
Darnell Mooney is going to be a sleeper on some teams.
Yeah, but that's the bad thing about that signing is that signing limits what you have with your weapons. I mean, yes, you have Allen Robinson. He runs the route tree to perfection up and down the field, can play, underneath, can play over the middle, can go deep as well. We've seen that. But Darnell Mooney is just a streaker. I mean, you've seen that. Darnell Mooney is their deep play threat, but now you have a quarterback that is your QB1 who, let's be honest, struggled getting the ball 10 yards down the field last year in Dallas with his
the weapons that y'all had, too.
Weapons that we had out there. So, I mean, to me, that's a very big cause of concern. I mean, sure, you mentioned Anthony Miller seems like he's on the way out. That seems like that's a trade that's just destined to happen here in the next few days to a week or so. I mean, but after that, you got Cole Kmet, and you've got a lot of people in the industry that are pushing Cole Kmet up the board. I think I've kind of stagnated my feelings for Cole Kmet now with the Andy Dalton signing. I don't know how great I feel about his.
But he was going to be higher up there. He was going to be higher up there with Mitch Trubisky.
Well, I had him up there higher, assuming y'all were going to go dip into the water for a better quarterback.
Okay, no, we don't do that. We don't have good quarterbacks in Chicago.
Give me Jameis Winston on a 1-year deal in Chicago, which
I would have loved that last year.
Y'all made that offer to him, and he turned you down. So, I mean, Jameis Winston, of course, allegedly, but that's almost seems to be truth at this point in time. But outside of Allen Robinson, I agree. It's the same way you kind of view A.J. Brown with the Tennessee Titans right now. There is nobody there to contest him for catches and receptions, which on the other hand, too, can be a very bad thing because he's going to see double coverage consistently.
Yeah. I mean, Allen Robinson has shown that he can beat double coverage. I mean, he was double covered a lot last year.
Sure.
A.J. Brown had Corey Davis out there. So I see the Titans going wide receiver in round 1. Since we're talking Corey Davis, I hope the Bears don't go with a wide receiver in round 1. Round 2, round 3, that's fine. But I mean, the Bears need O-line help. Man, alive! If we're going to rebuild for the future, which I mean, we should not be. The Bears should not be going for a championship right now. They need to be taking a look at the future here. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about getting a quarterback in round 2, but we need to go O-line in round 1. So
yeah, there's a lot of differing opinions out there right now too when it comes to what y'all are going to do in round 1 of the draft. I've seen a lot of.
I mean, we could go corner too.
Wide receiver. I've seen defensive side of the ball like you mentioned with cornerback. I've seen some linebacker out there as well. I've not really seen y'all jumping in on the offensive line in first round mocks. So
it's a bad pull if we don't.
Very confusing.
We're very short at cornerback after we released our man, Mr. Kyle Fuller, is gone now. So I mean, we've got a hole out there at cornerback as well. So yeah, I mean, we could go in a lot of different directions. There's outside of like running back. And D-line, there's not a whole lot of positions, maybe safety. There's not a whole lot of positions that we couldn't use some improvement on. So,
no, I got you there. Staying with your team real quick, the guy that was the hot hand going down the stretch for fantasy managers last year in 2020, David Montgomery. Of course, he had that stretch from weeks 13 through 17 where he was just a monster, putting up top 5 numbers week in, week out. Do you think that momentum carries over here into 2021, or do you think that the signing of Damian Williams is going to cause a little bit of concern? Not to mention the healthy Tariq Cohen. What version of David Montgomery are we going to see?
I think he's going to take a little bit of a step back. Again, I believe in Damian Williams. I told people that last year. That was a big reason I was not on Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year, is because of the presence of Damian Williams, and all of a sudden he opts out. So I think he's a guy that's going to get mixed in. Damian Williams is somebody that, he should have been a Super Bowl MVP. So Tariq Cohen, I don't think factors in whatsoever into anything David Montgomery. I mean, he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to get mixed in, but I don't really think he factors in a whole lot. So I think at the end of the day, David Montgomery is going to see a little bit of a decline, but I still view him as kind of more of a fringe RB1, more an RB2 in my book.
Yeah, I think I've got him moving down the board a little bit more, kind of that mid-tier RB2 as things are unfolding currently right now. I think everything else that's in play, they're going to be a run-heavy team this year. That's why they bring in the Damian Williams type to kind of spell David Montgomery somewhat here and there. I think the bigger issue is going to be Tariq Cohen taking away those pass receptions that we saw a lot from David Montgomery down the stretch. You're not going to see that many in a full, healthy Bears offense this year. So I think that's where he takes the biggest hit. And I think that's what knocks him down the board in PPR formats for 2021. So that's where I've got him in that mid-tier RB2 right now. So other than that, other things in free agency, we'll kind of jump real quick. What's a move that really caught your eye and you think is a boom for fantasy purposes, and a guy that you think kind of really doesn't move the needle, if not went in the other direction in fantasy with its free agent signing?
I don't like a lot of these guys, and we're talking guys that have switched teams. We're not talking about, it's easy to go and mention a Dak Prescott. Ooh, he made a great move. Well, of course. But I'm talking about guys that switch teams. Like, which guy that switched teams in the offseason, it was a boon. So I really look at the running back position. There's two guys at the running back position who I think put themselves in a good spot. So James Conner, I think, put himself in a really good spot out in Arizona. I know Chase Edmonds is getting the love out there, but they've given him the reins and he's done nothing with it. So not that James Conner is great, but the other guy too, I think, is a very underrated move that I think come draft time, I think he's going to pay some dividends depending on what the Jets do in free agency. But Tevin Coleman going to the Jets, I mean, he's the kind of running back who could be a number one, who's going to get drafted a little bit later. So those are definitely two guys that I have got my eye on later in drafts, that guys are not going to be hyping up on early.
See, for me, I think the biggest signing that I liked that has the biggest fantasy potential for 2021 was Curtis Samuel moving to the Washington football team, or maybe what we saw thrown out on Twitter a couple of days ago, the name that has been floated around the fan base, the Demon Cats. The Washington Demon Cats.
Okay.
That sounds like a team name from a football movie, like Any Given Sunday. It seems like a team that you'd be playing in Any Given Sunday.
The Knights.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
What was Washington's team name in that? I feel
Sentinels.
Like
Washington Sentinels and the replacements. Why not? I would go with that.
What were they? But I thought there was somebody in Any Given Sunday, though. It was Dallas. I think it was the Dallas Knights, because I remember
Dallas was the Knights. Yes,
I remember the end zone being like
Miami was the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Was it there was a Generals team, wasn't there? Like Los Angeles had a Generals team or something like that.
I don't know. We'll have to go back and look. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be a good go back and pull. But anyways, Demon Cats. Yes, let's go back to that. I hope they do pull the trigger and go with that, but I think they're going to stick with Washington
Demon Deacons.
Yeah,
making it sound rough by saying demon.
It's ridiculous. I hope they do go with that, but it's neither here nor there. But Curtis Samuel moving to Washington, subsequently is going to be the number 2 receiver there, with Terry McLaurin holding down the reins as the wide receiver 1. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick's the quarterback, even though Ron Rivera said the other day there will be a quarterback competition between him and Tyler Heineke.
They didn't name him QB1B?
No, they did not officially via the Twitter like the Bears did name him QB1, but I think it's aforementioned thought that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to start for Washington this year, and that's another team too that I think is going to kind of dip their toes into the quarterback class this year and go with a rookie quarterback potentially as well. So
I know that's what I've got mocked.
Yeah, that would be a team that I would look for there also. So, but as things stand right now, I mean Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington does nothing but good things for fantasy managers out there. So. Well, for me, Curtis Samuel, we saw what he could do when given the ball last year in space. He's a problem, and that's something that I think that's going to come to full light this year if he's getting the ball enough, getting enough looks from a quarterback like a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because let's be honest, I mean, this is probably the best quarterback that he's had since he's been in the league. Because he had Cam Newton, but Cam Newton was really kind of injured and on the more the downside while he was there in Carolina before he moved on as well. So I expect good things out of Curtis Samuel. I've got him easily as a guy that you're looking at as kind of that low end wide receiver 2 right now, without question. The bigger issue I'm going to have, without question, the bigger issue I think I'm going to have with them though is because that defense is going to be so good. How many opportunities are really going to be there on a week in, a week out basis for the passing game? Because we know what they can do running the ball, because I think we're going to expect another big year from Antonio Gibson in the running game here with Washington. So I do like Curtis Samuel. I think they're going to be able to be creative enough to get him the ball in many different avenues, whether it be out of the backfield, whether it be on screens, whether it be down the field. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to be looking for. I just hope that his ADP does not get out of control as we get into this summer. That's something that's going to be that I'll be watching for as we get closer to draft time.
And speaking about his former team, I think Carolina, I think Sam Darnold, if he's finally healthy, I mean, he's got a nice set of wide receivers out there to be able to throw the ball to. So he's somebody, as a late QB2 that, or again, as I've thrown out in some leagues, depending on the depth of the league, you're good taking a quarterback 3, even I think in some leagues, especially only really if you have the ability to be able to do trades and things. But I mean, I think Sam Darnold could be, he's got a lot of upside. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, he's finally healthy this year. But he's got a couple of good wide receivers to be able to chuck the ball around to, so it could be a nice year for him.
Yeah, and I mean, he's about to be 24 years old. I think he's been dealing with some maturity issues playing in New York, and
he needs to change the scenery.
He needed to change the scenery. That whole setup in New York, that the media pressure and everything like that, I just don't think he was ready for it. And the coaching staff just did not do a single thing to help that guy out with the weapons that they provided around him. Now he moves to a team that, I mean, they're going to be able to give him the ball in many different ways. I mean, they're going to be able to dump the ball off Christian McCaffrey 100 times this year. Sure, I got that. Throw the ball out to DJ Moore over the middle. Sure, I got that. Hit your guy down here, Robbie Anderson, on a deep pattern. Wow, I'm used to that. I think I can do that. I think he's going to be playing with a bigger chip on his shoulder now. That pressure is going to be off, and I think he's going to be a guy that, you're going to get him at a really decent price in drafts, and I think he's going to outperform the ADP easily when it comes to Sam Darnold in 2021. So I agree with that.
Provided he stays healthy.
I think he'll stay healthy. I don't think that's an issue. I think Carolina, they've got a somewhat suspect offensive line, but it's a little bit better than what he was dealing with the New York Jets. That's for sure.
Just don't get mono again.
Actually has a running game too for the first time in forever. That's the other thing. He's not had a running game since he's been in the league, and that takes a load of pressure off.
We'll see if Chris McCaffrey can stay healthy too.
See if he can stay healthy too. He's got that big fat paycheck, and you know how running backs are when they get paid. Suddenly the injuries crop up. So we'll see how that works out. So on the flip side of that too, signings that just what's a signing that you do not like for fantasy through the free agency process?
Where do I start? Man, they're so. I mean, I would say most of the other free agent deals, I don't like. These guys are chasing the money and not going to a good deal. Everything from Will Fuller to Kenny Galladay to Hunter Henry. I mean, so many of these guys. And Kenyon Drake, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand a lot of the destinations some of these guys are going to out there. So, I mean, a lot of these, and Brandon and I have talked about it now. I don't like where Will Fuller went. I don't like him going to Miami. But similar to Stephon Diggs this last year, I think that if he's getting enough of a discount there, Will Fuller could be a nice depth piece. But if he's getting drafted as a number 2 receiver out there, I'm not touching it. That's too early for me.
Yeah, I think that's where his ADP is going to lie. And for me, that was it's a tie in 2 players that I was looking at. Will Fuller being one of them, because I'm just not sold on what Tua can do as a quarterback and getting the ball down the field with consistency on his accuracy. That's the bigger thing for me. So I think Will Fuller going there, it's a very confusing signing for me. I think it limits what his potential could have been had he went somewhere else. I mean, even sign with Green Bay, sign with the Jets, where you would have probably been the bona fide number 1 with the Jets. I mean,
re-sign with the Texans.
Re-sign with the Texans, who knows who their quarterback is going to be in week 1 this year, with all the stuff going on with Deshaun Watson down there right now.
We can do a whole episode about that.
Yeah, we can really fly through that, but I'm kind of trying to keep my toes off of that one right now. But yeah, Will Fuller going to Miami was a confusing signing for me. I'm like you. I think his name alone is going to drive his price up, ADP wise in drafts. But for me, I'm not going to touch it. I think there's still too many people there. Devontae Parker's there. Preston Williams is coming back from injury. Jakeem Grant is there.
Mike
Gesicki looks great towards the end of the last year. So, I mean, there's just too many mouths to feed for me to be really fully invested in Will Fuller. Even though the talent is there, I don't think the production is going to meet the value. So, I didn't like that one, but then you mentioned the other one too, and that was Kenyon Drake going to the Raiders. I mean, why? I mean, sure, you want to go to a team to split and be a rotational back with a guy in Josh Jacobs that really doesn't come off the field except for passing downs, and they don't really throw to the running back that often in that offense. So it seems like Kenyon Drake's just going there just to be another body and get a paycheck. And so I was very, very confused on that one.
I don't understand.
The only thing I think of is they want to really limit the touches on Josh Jacobs this year and bring in a rotational back. That's why they bring in Kenyon Drake. But everything history-wise says Josh Jacobs still going to continue to be a guy that's going to get those 15 to 20 touches a game.
Mm-hmm.
So
not a situation I want to touch.
Yeah. So why, as Kenyon Drake, go there? Yeah. So that's the thing. So sure, you want to go there and be the third down pass reception back? Sure. How many looks are you actually going to get in a week? That's the thing for me. I did not like that move there. So, well, any other tidbits in free agency we want to cover before we jump into rookie first round mock?
Yeah, I think just the head scratching moves that are out there. There's not a lot of, obviously there's a lot of franchise action that happened. There's a lot of guys staying with their team. That is going to weigh in. But as far as a lot of the guys that move, man, there wasn't a lot of good movement out there to where you're just excited. So, So I think with that, definitely ready to talk some rookies here.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have a lot of impacts going on.
And I think that's the thing too, as we get into these rookies that you saw with free agency, some teams were left a little bit wide open still. You've got Atlanta and Pittsburgh. You've got the Dolphins. Seemingly, all three of those destinations seem like they're ripe and ready to pick a running back early in this draft, which is exciting for fantasy owners. Rookie running backs coming in the league. We saw it last year with the immersion of Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson. These guys coming in and making large impacts in year one. That really kind of breeds a little bit of excitement into fantasy managers, and it also affects ADP of other players too, because it's something I've mentioned over the years, over and over again. Everyone is chasing Ezekiel Elliott. Everybody wants to have that new, fresh, shiny toy, the rookie running back that's going to come in and be the savior of your fantasy football team. And so there's a lot of guys that are out there that are going to reach for those players, and they're going to come up a little bit higher up the board. So,
and you saw it last year. We preach and preach on the show. Do not take Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round. Not that we didn't think he would be good, but just at the value of where he's getting taken. So don't fall in love, with that rookie running back, because you take him in the first round, he better be having a Zeke Elliott type of year, or else your team's sunk. If you don't get that round 1 draft pick right, you're screwed.
Yes, that's true. And then as we get into talk about these the rookie mocks and where some of these players are going to come off the board, I do have a question we're going to throw out there real quick that jumped in. Tom English, 66, 10-man PPR. He's got the second pick in this, I'm assuming, in a rookie draft coming up for his Dynasty League. So 10-man PPR, it's the second pick. It's a good segue into what we're going to talk about. So first pick right off the board, I think me and you are probably going to differ on who you've got at number 1 coming off the board in a rookie mock.
I mean,
who is your pick there at number 1?
It's hard to be able to tell you, Tom, who you're going to be able to get, because every team's different in what your needs are.
Yes. That's the biggest thing, is the needs of said team.
It is, yeah. Because, you could be really needy at quarterback, and, Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be a perennial Pro Bowler for years to come. Do you go ahead and take somebody like that? I don't know. To me, I always, almost no matter what, I always tend to lean running back early on in drafts. So I think you got 2 predominant ones here in the draft. Here you got Najee Harris and Travis Etienne. But I think you got a little bit of a wrinkle with Kyle Pitts, depending on where he goes. So I would almost wonder if your draft I'm assuming is going to take place after the NFL draft. So I think you just got to see where stuff lies. But my propensity is always toward the running back early on. So I would go with whichever one is left out of those 2 would be my call.
So for me, it's probably going to make his decision a little bit easier, because the guy that's the top on my board right now in rookie rankings right now, 1-1, Jamar Chase. I have Jamar Chase as my 1-1 in my rookie ranking board. I think if I had the first pick, what we're seeing with wide receivers over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, I think that they're becoming a bigger part of the game quicker. And they have a little bit longer of a shelf life too. So sure. What we're seeing with these running backs, they're becoming a little bit more volatile. Sure, they're going to give you some production first, pretty early on, first 2 to 3 years within that rookie deal. But what we're starting to see is these guys are kind of falling by the wayside once it comes to that second contract time.
Yeah, and the shelf life on these guys is a little shorter, but I think the track record of running backs and rookie running backs taken higher is a lot better. Look at how many busts at wide receiver that there's been over the years in round 1.
Several. I'll give you that.
A ton, man. The rookie wide receivers, dude, they are a dime a dozen out there, especially if these guys go to a bad team. Like, right now, put Jamar Chase on the Dolphins. Dude, I don't want to touch that 1-1. You put Jamar Chase on the Bengals, much different story. You put Jamar
Chase with the Lions,
much different story.
He's immediately the number 1.
Instantly the number 1. It all depends on where they go. All depends.
Back to Tom. He says, I do not have a tight end.
You want to take? Ooh, man.
You
almost take Kyle Pitts. I would probably Kyle Pitts, right?
I think you would go Kyle Pitts there, because odds are that he's going to go to a team where, he's going to be the bona fide guy right off the bat. Let's say he goes to the Falcons. I think he plays over. Sadly enough, he plays over Hayden Hurst. So in that offense, I think there's a chance for him to put up easily top, tight end 1 numbers in his first year.
Go to the Bengals. Wow.
Could go to the Bengals too. They have a need at tight end. They're exploring the options of, giving them more options around Burrow, but I'm still, man, if you don't get an offensive line for Joe Burrow, that is just a death knell on his career. So I think I think the Bengals, even though, there's going to be plenty of options there for them at that 5th pick with offensive firepower. Yeah, I mean, if a guy like Penei Sewell is there, you have to take him. As a Bengals front office guy trying to invest in the health of your franchise quarterback, you have to take an offensive lineman. So yes, for me, Tom, yes, I would agree with the real FF goat there. I would go with Kyle Pitts there, number 2 in your rookie draft upcoming 10-man PPR. You don't have a tight end. I think that shores up that position for you. And you're likely going to have a player at that position over the course of the next 5, 6, 7 years. That's a bona fide stud, depending on that landing spot.
And I mean, what I may do, and granted, now this would be a little sneaky here, but what I may do if it were me and I knew I needed a tight end, I would look at team 3 and team 4, see what they need, try to trade back and accumulate extra picks, another first rounder next year, because if they're stud at tight end, they're not going to take one. Trade back a little bit and get some extra capital there as well. So that's what you got to do to win. You can't. I mean, now Kyle Pitts, I think at number 2 in a rookie draft is a little bit over. But if you need that, I mean, look at how volatile the tight end position was last year. It was a bunch of shit after the first 2 or 3 guys. If you got a guy who for a decade is going to be, a bona fide number 1 tight end, that's great. But, if I could trade back a couple extra picks and maybe pick up another second, another third, maybe a first rounder next year by doing that, hell yeah, that's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So we appreciate that question, Tom. Hopefully we got you set and ready to go for your upcoming draft. You mentioned Kyle Pitts, and him being drafted at 2 might be a little bit of an over pick, but I actually have Kyle Pitts number 3 on my rookie board right now, right behind. The way I have it started, the way my rookie board is right now, Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts, and then Trevor Lawrence at 4. That's my first 4 in my rookie rankings as things stand right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, I don't see. I really don't. And this was the case last year with all these rookie running backs and kind of where they went. We had an idea of where we thought that some of these guys should go, and most of them went to the worst situations possible with other running backs and everything there, to where it just doesn't matter how good that they are. I mean, sometimes they just have people to compete with. So let's hope that's not the case this year. But there's a lot of running backs and wide receivers that depends on where they go. They could. I mean, you could have somebody like, the 6th or 7th, ranked running back go to the Steelers and instantly go and be, their number 1 guy. You just don't know who that's going to be. So
just jumping back into Tom's got a follow-up question here.
Ooh.
He's getting offered Joe Burrow and a 2nd round pick for his
a 2nd round pick or your 2nd overall pick.
And the 2nd round pick.
Herbert,
it's a 2nd round pick.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Burrow in a 2nd. I mean, Burrow and a 2nd rounder.
He would be getting Burrow in the 2nd for Herbert in the 5th.
Yeah, 2nd rounder. I mean, I view those 2 quarterbacks as pretty equal. I think moving ahead. So you said he's getting Burrow?
He would be getting Burrow and the 2nd round pick.
I think I would do that, right?
I'm leaning your direction as well. In my dynasty rankings, I've got Burrow and Herbert pretty much side by side. In dynasty rankings moving forward. So then you're looking at draft capital, getting back the 2nd and giving up a 5th.
Yeah, and you
look like an even trade there at that point, but you're getting a little extra capital with draft pick.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would probably make that move.
Yeah, I think so too. I know I would probably just be a little bit patient with Burrow here in 2021 coming back from the knee injury. But moving forward, I think you're looking at 2 quarterbacks that are going to be, essentially side by side with each other in quarterback rankings year in and year out for the next few years. So, I would probably pull the trigger on that deal and get that 2nd round pick, which would actually be this year as well. So you're accumulating what to me is a pick in the 2nd round that is going to be in a class that's fairly deep as well. So you're going to wind up with, I'm assuming, you're going to have 2 picks in that second round, and there's a lot of guys that I like in the second round. I mean, you're talking a 10-team league. I'm talking a 12-team league. So for me, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, just like in the Dynasty League that we do, I mean, you're going to have some free agents that are out there that are probably free agents, and I don't know if his draft is just rookies or if you have free agents involved too. But for me, I think right about mid-round 3 is when this draft really falls off hard.
Definitely.
After that, depending on if you're just looking at rookies, it really falls hard toward the end of round 2 in a 12-team. So 10-team, yeah, I think you're good with that second rounder there.
Yeah, because if I'm looking at my board, the way things are shaking out right now, I mean, there's guys that I've got ranked in that outside the top 36 that I have some interest in. There's guys that are going to be on this list like Seth Williams, Chris Evans. I like guys like Shi Smith is in this range too. But are they going to be contributors for your team week in and week out? Probably not.
Let's see where they go,
guys. Yeah, it's going to be more where are they going to land and what kind of playing time are they going to get. So I would get more of the I would like to have that back in the second round with some guys that are going to be a little bit more talented. So yeah, we're going to pull the trigger on that deal. He does want to know though also just to give our insights, Saquon Barkley. How are we feeling with Saquon Barkley coming into this year, coming off the knee injury?
I'm not looking like anything's happening for me. I mean, I'm drafting him just like I was, maybe a pick or 2 later, but I still view Christian McCaffrey as my number 1. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook. I mean, Barkley's still right up there. I mean, especially the 2. Here's what I'm thinking about. And obviously if Saquon's healthy, but I mean, I think he's going to be. But you got another receiver out there in Kenny Golladay taking people out of the box and giving Saquon Barkley some lanes out there. So yeah, absolutely. I've still got Saquon Barkley as the top 5 guy.
Yeah, I've got him at 3 in my dynasty rankings right now. So even coming back off the injury, I think he's going to come back in and be the Saquon Barkley of old, which now better offensive weapons surrounding him. The passing game should be a little bit better. So I think it's going to open things up a little bit more for Saquon Barkley moving forward. So yeah, I think you're going to get a little bit of a discount with him in some drafts this year because people are going to look at that injury, and then you're going to look at some of the guys that are high risers coming off of last year. Jonathan Taylor is going to be a guy that's going to be drafted way up high in a lot of drafts just based on age alone and what he did down the stretch last year. Mm-hmm. Would I draft Barkley ahead of Jonathan Taylor? I probably would at this best moment right now.
I would hope you would.
I probably would at this moment based on moves that have been made. So, but hey, he did want to know as well too. And you're actually we're talking to the guy. He's the commission of our Dynasty League that we've been doing for 20 years now. What website do we do our Dynasty League on there, commish?
My Fantasy League.
We've been on My Fantasy League pretty much since the inception of that website, whether it be with the Dynasty League that we're on or an old league that we do, our home league as well. So we've been with My Fantasy League for quite a while.
Oh, man, I love that website.
Yeah, but it's also more too. A lot of people that are playing Dynasty Leagues and stuff now too are not doing the live and in-person drafts like you and I do. So that probably kind of changes things and aspects for some people. Like me and you, we do our Dynasty League draft live and in person every single year. So it's easier to do it that way because then you just upload the picks through My Fantasy League and update the rosters that way. But outside of that, if I'm going to be starting up a Dynasty League or if I'm in one and I'm trying to decide what league to go to do my Dynasty League, I would probably go to Sleeper. Sleeper would probably be the website that I would do a Dynasty League on currently right now. We do another one, a Keeper League that we do, which is kind of, would essentially determine would be a Dynasty League, but we've done that on ESPN for, 10 years on that one now too. So yeah, I mean, we dabble with several different websites, but our oldest standing Dynasty Leagues on My Fantasy League. But I like the layout of Sleeper now. So I would probably go that way.
And I think the thing you have to like about Sleeper, which my fantasy league's done well at, the thing you like about Sleeper is it's very phone based. But from a commission, from a sheer commissioner standpoint, I've never done anything on Sleeper, so I don't really know other than doing mock drafts and things. But from a commissioner standpoint, it's so easy to manage on my fantasy league. You have to pay a little bit for it, which a lot of these other things are free. But the customization, I can customize anything and everything on that website that I want to. You know, in the league, and that's the other thing too. And I don't know what Sleepers is like there, but the history pages of the league is what's nice, because you can go back and see trades from 20 years ago, and I can look at history pages and it keeps track of all the stats of my league, and I don't have to do anything. So from a sheer commissioner standpoint, not ESPN or Yahoo, they don't do anything to this effect.
Do not match that,
like it would be for my fantasy league. So I mean, $5 a head on doing that if you got a 12-man league. It's like, I think right now it's like $60. I think it's the early bird special in there. So we don't get any money from my fantasy league. I just love the customization of it. So
yeah. So getting back to the mock, this first round rookie mock draft here. I mentioned, of course, my top 4, the way I've got them set up right now: Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts, Trevor Lawrence. How are you viewing the top half of this first round in a rookie draft? How are the players coming off the board in your eyes?
Yeah, like I said, again, for me, it's going to be the 2 running backs at the top for me. I think I'd probably put Jamar Chase at 3, Trevor Lawrence at 4. I think he's going to be a perennial, all-pro quarterback every single year. He's going to be somebody, again, and I don't really like taking quarterbacks that high, especially this year when you've got some depth there. But, of all the quarterbacks that are available this year, he's the one that I would say, yeah, he's going to be a Peyton Manning-esque kind of a guy. And then I'd say I'd probably have Kyle Pitts there at 5. So that would be my top 5. And again, I think behind that it's mixed in with a lot of running backs and wide receivers. Again, Zach Wilson, I've got in my mock draft going at number 2. Whoever the Niners take at 3 is going to be in there too. But I'm viewing those guys more toward the end of round 1. Early round 2 versus right behind these guys at 5. So
yeah, those guys, once you get into the other quarterbacks below Trevor Lawrence, I've got those further down the board in round 2 type guys. Just because I value some of these other positions a little bit higher. So Trevor Lawrence is actually the guy that I've got locked in at round 1 right now. But really more based upon your evaluation, like you said. I think he's really going to be the only guy out of some of these that are going to be bona fide, just all Pro Bowl type caliber quarterback each year.
Yeah.
And so I think that Trevor Lawrence brings
no
that.
question. Yeah. And Zach Wilson may be that guy, or Mac Jones or Justin Fields. They may be those guys, but I view those guys more in the same tier versus a Trevor Lawrence, who I think is head above, those guys. I would feel more safe, because if I don't really, some of my strategy, I don't really like taking a quarterback in round 1 in these drafts. There's so many running backs and wide receivers, and in this case, tight end, that, I view ahead of that. I can find a quarterback usually on the scrap heap out there and be okay. Mm-hmm. Kelly Holcomb. But
you go straight to hell, Kelly Holcomb.
But into round 1, beginning of round 2, especially in these leagues where you've got 6 to 7 running backs, 8 to 10 wide receivers, probably right now maybe 2 tight ends that are going to be worth a flip right now. You can wait a little bit on quarterback. So do that. You're going to get a lot better talent on your team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ned, I have you have Etienne in your top 5. I do not have him in my top 5. I have Javonte Williams rounding out my top 5. Then followed behind him, I've got Devontae Smith, Kenny Gainwell, then Travis Etienne, Jalen Waddle, Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, and then Rashad Bateman as my top 12. As things stand right now, heading into the draft, of course, this is going to be a little bit more fluctuating once we get outside the draft, see where some of these guys land. But I caught a little. I was catching a little bit of questions on Twitter yesterday once I put out my rankings of my running backs for having Kenny Gainwell ahead of Travis Etienne. And of course, like I mentioned, I've been a big proponent of Kenny Gainwell going back to last year. Even pointed out the fact when Antonio Gibson got drafted that you need to be on the watch for this guy next year because he's the reason Antonio Gibson only had 33 snaps in college. This guy can play, and we're not seeing him as a broad scope because of the fact that he opted out this year. I think he has every bit of that skill set that Travis Etienne has, and he can bring to the NFL. Just depends on the landing spot. But as things stand right now, like I said, I've got them side by side. They're very interchangeable, but I like Gainwell just a smidge more. So if it's me, I'm taking Gainwell over Etienne.
Yeah, and I mean the big reason I've got Etienne ranked over Gainwell is I think Gainwell is going to go more of that back half of round 2, whereas Etienne could go latter half of round 1, early round 2, depending on the Etienne could go Steelers Falcons, whereas you're looking at Gainwell going to let's just say, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a team, the Patriots, to where they have an established, guy in the mix in there. And I just don't see him, getting drafted by a team that, could utilize his skill set as much and have as clear of a path as somebody like Travis Etienne, who is probably going to go, again, in a little bit better of a landing spot is going to be my guess.
Possibly. And now that's another caveat that I mentioned too, is that, you might see Etienne go to a team like the New York Jets. And do I feel like Etienne's going to be more successful than Kenny Gainwell if Gainwell were to land with the Falcons in round 2?
I would probably go Gainwell. Yeah,
exactly.
That's why landing spot matters. That's why
landing spot's a big deal.
I've only done like a top 5 on rookie rankings because they mean nothing once the draft happens to me.
Yeah, as things stand, this is all just for good talk and brings a little bit more light to some of these other guys that, Twitter's just been a buzzed over the situation with some of these players over the last few days. You got everybody wants to tear down prospects left and right now.
Sure.
And
everybody wants to hype up all these guys you've never heard of. So, but kudos to you. You've been on Kenny Gainwell. You've been leading the charge on Kenny Gainwell for well over a year. So
yeah, it's just that Lord knows I live 45 minutes from Memphis. I get a lot of Memphis viewing over here in this area of Tennessee where I'm at. So I do get a lot of viewing of Kenny Gainwell. But like I said, he's kind of in the back of a lot of people's mind this year because it's just the sheer fact he opted out. Nobody saw him play, and you're going back to that tape from 2019, and the guy explodes off the tape if you go back and look at it. So I think he can run in any style offense. So I think that there's a little bit more expanded portfolio when it comes to Kenny Gainwell, and people think, oh, this is just another guy from Memphis. There's that running back pipeline coming from Memphis. That they've been producing running backs left and right here lately. Sure. And I think he's going to be successful just like some of the other ones that have come out ahead of him. So,
yeah,
that's where I have him. We talked about Etienne. The other big guy that's going to be in that first round mix that a lot of people were kind of varying degrees as far as what we're looking at him on right now is Devontae Smith. I've got him 6th in my rankings right now. There's so many different aspects of where you think he might go in the draft right now. How do you feel about Devontae Smith coming out of Alabama? Just another of those prospects coming from Alabama that are going to be successful, or he's going to be a guy that, I think the bigger knock on him, of course, has been a lot of people talking about the weight issue. He's not very big. Does that weigh on you whatsoever as far as value-wise?
Tyreek Hill is not very big either, B.
No, he's not.
Antonio Brown's not very big. How big the guy is, it doesn't really matter to me. It's can he run routes? Can he find the end zone? This guy, he won the Heisman as a wide receiver. He's got the ability to play. So for me, I've got him over Jalen Waddle at this point. I know he's not going to get. I know he's not going to get drafted as such. At least I don't think he will. But I don't.
It's another weird scenario. I mean, it's like last year. Nobody had Henry Ruggs as the first wide receiver off the board, and he was the first wide receiver off the board of the Raiders.
I did.
I did not.
I did.
So I was not thinking that whatsoever.
The Raiders are always enamored with that speed there. So that's one of the main reasons I went on a little pick thing.
And that's the weird thing about it too with Waddle. Waddle's very similar to Henry Ruggs to me, the type of player and the type of prospect that they are coming out of Alabama. So I'm a little bit. I mean, I've got Waddle inside my top 10 right now, but he's going to be very, very dependent on where he lands.
As they all are.
Sure. I mean, like I said, this is going to fluctuate here within the next 2 weeks when the draft is over with. We get to reevaluate where we are with some of these players. I guarantee you this top 12 will change immensely once we get done with it. But a guy that's catching steam over the last couple weeks, Elijah Moore, wide receiver from Ole Miss. How are you feeling about him? I haven't put all the pieces together in my mock, but I've got him as a guy that's going to land with the Titans in the first round. How are you feeling about Elijah Moore landing at Tennessee? Value wherever he goes. He's, like I said, he's been a hot commodity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily view him as a first-round talent. I think he's more of a round 2 guy for me. I would view somebody like a Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman. Those are guys that I would rather have, there, and guys that I would rather have go to the Titans in what seems like a good landing spot opposite of A.J. Brown there.
Bateman is a big name, too. That's been a lot of talk over the Twitterverse this weekend. Bateman's a guy you really didn't see a lot of this past year, just, COVID and that situation going on. And, just we didn't see the Bateman that we've been used to the last couple of seasons. He's got all the tools. He looks the part. I think he's going to be a guy that if he were to go, like you mentioned, if he were to land with the Tennessee Titans,
or the Packers,
the Packers could be, but let's be honest, Packers aren't.
They're not getting
in the first round. They're just
getting
at this point at this point they're just giving the middle finger to Mr. Jeopardy himself, Aaron Rodgers. They don't want to give him any weapons whatsoever.
Now, host of Jeopardy, Aaron Rodgers,
which was hilarious. I mean, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it too much, but that first show that he hosted. The guy with the final Jeopardy question asked him, who decided to kick that field goal, and it just shot him down. He was like, "Oh God, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out that one out." I laughed so hard when I saw that. But yeah, Bateman's a guy that I like. I think he's going to be very, very dependent on landing spot there for me as well. I mean, there's a chance he gets drafted to the Baltimore Ravens in the first round.
Saints could be taking a receiver in round
I would
1.
love it if he went to the Saints, but if he goes to the Ravens, I mean, let's look at it. Bateman to the Ravens as opposed to Bateman with what we just mentioned, Titans, Saints, Packers. I mean, his value at this point in time is just going to go whoop boom. I'm not going to touch him. It's just simple as that.
100%. Although I think this is a great year to trade for Hollywood Brown. If you are in a dynasty, I'm just saying his value is never going to be as low as it is right now. You can get him on the cheap.
Yeah, I'm just not a big Hollywood guy.
I'm not either, but you gotta look at value. So cue the spot in the tape, almost the 1 hour mark, I should say, in our show here.
I right at it. Yeah, go get Hollywood Brown, as said by Nick Heffley, the real.
I'm not saying. Third round pick in a draft like this for Hollywood? Yeah.
I mean, but do you really think you give up just a third in a rookie draft for Hollywood Brown?
What's he done? What's he done? Nothing.
I mean, he's as bad as he was last year. He was still a wide receiver 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, anyways,
you got to get Nick Heffley drafting techniques out there and trading techniques. Yeah.
Yeah, just send crap deals.
Offer
the worst deal.
Offer the 4th first. When he doesn't accept it, up to a 3rd. I bet you get
offer the worst deal imaginable and hope that they accept it. And most often than not, they accept it. That's the Nick
that
Heffley.
They do.
That is the Nick Heffley way to dynasty trading.
Know your league mates. Your league mates.
Yeah. Yep. That's how he does the trades, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas I send legit offers out to people, and it's like my email does not work. I don't get responses. So, anyways, favorite guy, if somebody would put a gun to your head, so to speak, without knowing landing spot or anything like that, out of the top 12, top 10, when it comes to these rookie rankings, who is the guy that you're really zoned in on the most and you hope you get a shot at adding to your dynasty roster?
So our dynasty league, we combine, thank goodness, wide receivers and tight ends because it is nasty otherwise. So we've done that ever since the inception. Yes. I'm pretty strong at running back right now. I'm a little weaker at quarterback and wide receiver. I would love for Jamar Chase to fall to me or Trevor Lawrence. Those would be the two guys based on my current Dynasty League team that I would love to fall to me. I don't think it matters where Jamar Chase goes. Even if it is to the Dolphins, I think he's gonna be that guy that comes above. So, and same with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I've got Baker Mayfield right now. I've got Big Ben, but having a guy like him for the next 10 years on my team, that would be amazing right now. So, what about you?
For me, the way that current roster is set up, I think I'm going to need a little bit of some boost at running back.
It might make a deal, B.
Yeah, could possibly. I mean, it works out pretty well because there's going to be a lot of options at running back in this year's draft coming out of the draft. When it comes to rookie formats, I think you're going to have some running backs that are going to be in some spots that are going to be able to add some value to your dynasty rosters. So for me, it's going to be a best player available type situation for me.
Where you
no
picking?
Matter where I'm picking, fifth, I think, somewhere around in there, somewhere in that ballpark.
Not makes playoffs,
yeah. I think I'm right there around that ballpark.
Which I mean, this bodes really well to the talk that we were talking with Tom earlier. Last year in our dynasty, and I won the dynasty league that we were in this last year, but I had the number 1 pick. And I traded back to 5. I traded back to 5 and got James Conner along with that because I knew the way our league operates, and I knew I was going to still be able to get a good running back. And I got J.K. Dobbins at 5. It was easily better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and mainly because our league is not a PPR league. We go old school in this league, so. I knew that there would be a good running back available at 5, and especially getting somebody like James Conner, who, now is in to me a decent little landing spot for him. I'm just acquiring draft cap. I'm just acquiring draft capital. Is he gonna be the end all be all? No, but I've got enough irons in the fire where something's gonna shake out. And if you ask me right now, who would you rather have, J.K. Dobbins or Clyde or Edwards-Helaire in this league? J.K. Dobbins all day long. In our league? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, with the standard format. I think Gus Edwards is going to be something that's going to haunt J.K. Dobbins owners a lot in 2021. That's how I view that. I mean, he's a vulture. Let's be honest about it.
He is.
He is the guy that you would think J.K. Dobbins needs to be on the field for 70% of the snaps, but here is Gus Edwards out there trotting away for 83 yards and a touchdown every single week. And it's unnerving for a lot of us out there. I mean, you go back to 2-3 years ago with Kenny Golladay on the lines, and you're thinking, okay, Kenny Galladay's primed for a big week this week. Marvin Jones, 2 touchdowns.
That was the best thing I did this last year was getting Marvin Jones off the waiver wire for $2. Man alive.
So
good year this last year, B. Good year.
No, tying it back into the running with rookies and everything. Yeah, I do.
Putting a bow on it.
I think I'm in a good spot with some of the running backs that are going to be there. I mean, I'd be looking at a Javonte Williams. I'd be looking at a Kenny Gainwell because I think the way that our league thinks, knowing your league, I believe that Harris and Etienne are going to be off the board even before my pick comes up. So I'm okay with the next guys.
Ooh, you're going to get Gainwell. I would be shocked if you didn't.
I wouldn't. I mean, if he like as we mentioned, if he lands,
you like him too. But
I love both of those guys. Like, I think. I mean, part of me wants to put Javonte Williams number 1 on my running back board, but I mean, I still think Najee Harris is going to be the better value.
Ruffle some more feathers out there.
I think it's a clear-cut thing that Najee Harris is going to land in a spot where he'll be able to return the best value when it comes to fantasy football production. That's how I'm viewing that. I mean, Javonte Williams at this point he's gonna wind up landing somewhere in the second round. I mean, I hope he goes to an Atlanta. I hope he goes to Miami, somewhere like that, where he can really kind of showcase the skill set. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things. I mean, we're getting there. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, we're under 2 weeks away. Draft is coming quick and fast and in a hurry. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to get that mock draft show. We're going to have that out here within the next week or so. All things planned out according. We're going to put together our mock drafts. Nick has already got his done. I'm finishing up on mine. But like I mentioned, we got it down here at the bottom. Draftnetwork.com. Go and fill out your own mock draft. Get those screenshots. Send it to us at woo_fantasy. We would greatly appreciate it. And we'll discuss some mocks on the show. On the next point, I think I got another little thing in the works too. Might have a special guest that I'm going to do a podcast with to go over some rookies here in the next few days potentially. So that might be a Brandon sit down with another industry person and talk some fantasy rookies over the course of the 2021 season. So I gotta put the final details together for that. So that might be something to look forward to. But outside of that, of course, as always, go to rotoballer.com. Sign up for all the great premium content that we got out there. I think the guys at Rotoballer PGA had a great weekend this weekend too. With the
they seem to always have a good weekend.
They put out their core 4 before the tournament started, and Corey Connors was on that list. He had a big Thursday and Friday. And some of the other guys that they had in that core 4 were some decent guys for the weekend too. So I know Joe Nicely, the guy that's the main guy with Rotoballer PGA, he won a DFS contest with his picks this weekend. So lighten them up over there at Rotoballer PGA. So we're putting out some great content with the premium. Download that promo code Woo Fantasy to get you that discount at checkout. So definitely go and get that done. Also, the promo code Woo Fantasy with FanDuel as well to get you some extra cash for any of these DFS lineups that you're putting in. So go do that for us as well. Woo Fantasy promo code on FanDuel. And Nick, of course, we're going to finish up the show here as it shows on the screen, but tell them where they can find you on Twitter.
And find me at the Real FF Goat.
And I, of course, am at Roto Superstar on Twitter. And this podcast is at Woo_fantasy. So definitely shoot us up some questions. Anything you might have for any rookie drafts upcoming, definitely hit us up. We will be glad to help you. And that is at Woo_. Shoot us up there at the Woo_fantasy. We'll help you with your rookie drafts as things get closer to the actual NFL draft. But until then, guys, have a great week. We will talk to you next time on another episode of Woo!